What's going on, guys and gals? Today we're doing meals for vets. Not official in the title yet, but we'll get with, that's Doc's decision. Today we're going to start doing is trying to do meal prepping for just at least a meal a day. We'll change it up every week. Today, to start it off, we're actually going to be doing, and it's hard to see, but at the end of the video I'll get closer to the board and show everybody everything. And I'll also send a picture of the finished product along with the video, that way everybody can see everything. So today we're making chicken breasts, sweet potatoes, and green beans. Super cheap, super simple to make. If you don't like sweet potatoes, you don't like green beans, you don't like chicken, you can always substitute out. I'll give examples of each as we go. First stage, what I'm gonna do is show prep, what you need to have in order to get started. So officially, the first thing you need is some type of container. Now, there's round, squared, compartmented. Your choice. You choose whatever you want. There's glass and plastic. Glass is better, but I've got 5 kids, so plastic's the way to go. Aside from that, the first thing we need, honestly, is your ingredients. Your chicken breasts. They're 2 simple chicken breasts that I got at the store. I got 2 sweet potatoes and then a can of green beans. The whole thing cost me $12. Now, I normally could do more, but just for the video, I'm doing smaller portions. I've already prepped all my meals for the week. This is just for smaller portions. So, aside from that, you'll need your seasonings, whatever seasonings you like. From the chicken, I usually use Tony's and then some pepper. For my sweet potatoes, if you like sweet potatoes and you haven't tried it yet, just give it a chance. But some ground cinnamon, some salt, and pepper. We also are going to need some oil, some kind of oil. I usually use avocado oil. Avocado oil lasts longer in its oily stage at higher temperatures, instead of running off and burning out, and all of a sudden you're left with a dry chicken or some dry sweet potatoes. You can also use some spray. For sprays, I usually use a coconut oil because it's slicker, it lasts longer. Easy cleanup, you don't have to, but I usually use aluminum foil. To coat my pans, a knife. You can use a spoon. I use this to spread it over my chicken and my sweet potatoes. 2 pans and a cutting board. Now, I know it seems like a lot for one meal, but once you have your utensils, your pans, your seasonings, your Tupperware, the only thing that you'll end up needing are your ingredients. So we'll start by with the chicken breast. Chicken breast, I usually take it out. Let's clear this. So I have my 2 chicken breasts here. As you can see, they're full size. So the first thing that I want to do, because this takes the least amount of time, is get my pan ready. I'll put some aluminum foil on it. I've got some old pans. Been around the block. For the Marines out there, don't eat it raw. Just cook it. It'll taste better. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to do is spray my aluminum foil with this, so that way when it's cooked, the chicken breast don't stick to it and you pulling up aluminum foil. Alright, now that that's done, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my chicken breast. I don't know if you can see this, I'll show you all in a second. I'm going to lay it down, and these are actually kind of thick. So to make sure that it cooks evenly, I'm actually going to take the chicken breast and push it down. You don't have to do it with your hand. You can use a spatula or whatever you want to use, but I use my hands. So essentially, once it's done, they're laying on there. Make sure you've got them evenly spaced. We'll move this out the way. So now that you got that, I'm actually going to take my seasonings, and every time wash your hands. This is the only hand that touched it, so this one's clean, but always wash your hands after touching raw meat. So usually a pinch or 2 of each seasoning is good, health-wise. For me, I'm a little different. I enjoy having seasoning. If you really want some good flavor, put it on both sides. Set that aside. You know what? Wash my hands. All right, so I've got my Tonys on there. Yes, this is bougie. You don't need the bougie pepper, but you know, fiance bought the bougie pepper. So got the pepper on there. Now, my next step, you can use a spoon. I just so happen to have the spreader. I'm gonna put a little dab on the top of the chicken breast of oil, and I'm gonna spread it around. It's gonna get that. It's gonna coat the outside of that chicken breast really well, and it's gonna get that seasoning to actually lay into the meat. Now, for some of y'all, this might be redundant, but there's others that, you know, they've never taken this first step. So that's why we're here. Get everybody eating healthy. All right, once I'm done, I'm gonna set this aside. All right, so now we've got our two fully seasoned chicken breasts. Now, I'm gonna set that aside. Let's put it over here for now. My next step is actually gonna be my sweet potatoes. So the first thing you wanna do with your sweet potatoes, before you cut them or anything, you wanna wash them. If you've got a dry bristle brush, use that. If not, use your hand. Just get all that dirt and everything else that's been sitting in the store off. My sweet potatoes, if you don't have a strong grip or strong hands, not even strong, just, you know, good grasp. If it's hard for you to hold stuff, this might not be the best way for you to do it. Ask somebody. If not, there's an alternative to the sweet potato. In the store, there's a steamable bag of sweet potatoes. I've tried both, my handmade ones and the steamable bag. They taste just the same. It's a little bit more expensive, but if this is something you can't do, go with the steamable. So first thing to do is I'm gonna cut them up, and what I'm gonna want to do is actually cut them up in little cubes, a little 1-inch cubes. No, you don't have to measure, just guesstimate it. So while I'm cutting these up, good alternatives for a sweet potato, if you're not big on sweet potatoes, red potatoes are really good for you. You can also do a rice. If you're not big on rice and things like that, if you want to go more of the vegetable route, there's cauliflower rice, sorry. And just there's other alternatives. You know, this is just a basic start to what we're trying to do here. But if you have any questions or you want a different alternative, you can always reach out to me. I've got a plethora. Kayla's also got extensive knowledge on everything. And you can always give us a shout. As far as chicken, an alternative, if you're not a big chicken person, or if you don't like, you know, later in the meals, if you don't like a certain meat, your beefs, your turkeys, your fishes, salmon for a fish is a really good one. Any kind of white fish, not catfish, but those are extremely good for you. You've got a lot of omega-3s, good protein source, so you can always do, you know, something like that. And just for video's sake, guys, I'm only going to cut this one sweet potato up. Just because I don't want to keep y'all, you know, I know y'all love watching me. You know, love the beard. But just for video's sake, I'm only going to cut off the one. Now, something I can say, with, you know, especially with the sweet potatoes, you know, taking your time and cutting them. If you want to go ahead and preheat your oven, both the sweet potatoes and the chicken are at 425 degrees Fahrenheit. Everybody's oven's a little bit different, so my cook times will be different, but your temperature is going to be 425. So before you even start with your chicken or your sweet potatoes, if you want to go ahead and preheat the oven, that way by the time you get everything ready, set out, you can already have your chicken in the oven while you're cutting your sweet potatoes. You can do them both in the oven at the same time. I usually do it separate because I'm usually doing 2 pans of chicken breast, so there's no room in my oven. All right, so now that I've done cutting up the sweet potatoes, essentially that's what you want. I can't see where the camera is because it's back facing, but I'm doing my best, guys. So essentially what you want cubes, the 1-inch cubes. All right, so now that that's done, it's prepped. Again, my pans are old, they're taking a beating. So I'm gonna go ahead and lay down my aluminum foil. I'm gonna take my spray. And do not be shy with the spray. A little hair flip. All right, so once I do that, I'm gonna take my sweet potatoes, I'm gonna put them in the pan, kind of spread them out a little bit. Set my cutting board aside. All right, so now for my sweet potatoes, for those of you who haven't tried it, this is something through trial and error that I figured out that tastes extremely great. So you're gonna use a little bit more oil on this one. So just get you some oil and then you just kind of want to throw it over the sweet potatoes. Don't drench them, but you do want them to get wet, otherwise they're going to get dry in the oven. So a vigorous amount. Alright. Doesn't all get on it, so kind of want to just mix it around. Alright, I'm done with the oil. So now I'm going to take my ground cinnamon. I don't want to go too heavy. Just kind of put them all around. Alright. And then I'm also going to take pepper. And last but not least, salt. This is very, very minimal. If you have a sodium high blood pressure, high cholesterol, lay off the salt. There's other alternatives. Just a little bit. All right, once I get all my seasonings on there, you go ahead, spread it around again, make sure everything gets coated and seasoned. All right, now that that's done, here is the final product. Oop, they're sliding. All right, so now that that's done, whether it's 1 chicken breast, 2 chicken breasts, 1 sweet potato, or if you're doing it for 7 days, I would usually put in the chicken breast first, especially if that's something you prep first, because it takes the least amount of time. Your sweet potatoes are going to take a little bit longer. So now we're into the baking stage, the cooking stage. You've already done your prep. So now we're going to take our chicken breast and we're going to put our chicken breast in the oven. Again, the temperature is 425 degrees. We're going to put our chicken breast in the oven for 26 minutes. If your chicken breasts are thinner than mine, you want to do about 23 minutes. But if you have a normal chicken breast, not the thinly sliced, 26 minutes. Once you cook those for 26 minutes, you're going to pull it out of the oven and you're going to cut a little section in the thickest part of the chicken breast. If it still has pink, put it back in the oven for 2 minutes each and every time until you don't see any pink anymore. Again, you want to cut open the thickest part of that chicken breast because that's what's taking the longest to cook. Never eat chicken medium rare, ever. It's not a thing. You're going to get sick. No, we don't want that. We're trying to make you better, not sicker. Your sweet potatoes are usually going to take, if they're cut like this, between 30 to 45 minutes. It all depends on how you cut them. Mine usually take about 35 to 40 minutes. But once you put these in, you're done with your chicken, you put these in, you're going to check these every 10 minutes and kind of toss them. Otherwise, they're going to just start baking and sticking to one side. So just every 10 minutes, toss your sweet potatoes. All in all, guys, between prep work to you're done cooking is about an hour and a half. An hour and a half. Now, if you're doing this meal for every day for 7 days, your sweet potato is going to take you the longest. It took me 20 minutes, but I've got 5 kids too, so it's distracting. It took me about 20 minutes to cut up the sweet potatoes, but by that time my chicken was done. All I had to do was throw these back on the pan, get them all seasoned up, throw them in the oven. And it took me 40 minutes to do mine. But again, it's hard to see, and at the very end of the video, I'll zoom in on the board. You're gonna need chicken breast, sweet potatoes, green beans. You're gonna need 2 baking sheets or more, depending on how many pieces of chicken you're cooking and how many sweet potatoes you're doing. You're gonna need aluminum foil, optional. You're gonna need at least a knife, a spatula, and a fork. Your seasonings, whatever seasonings you may like, you may not like any, that's fine. Just make sure you're still covered in oil. Your oil, again, an avocado oil, a coconut oil, an almond oil, those are really good. And then the last thing that I haven't shown you yet is your pot, a pot or a microwave. So for the green beans, this is super easy, super simple. I got a can of green beans. If you want to get fresh, you can do fresh. I like the Del Monte fresh cut green beans. It's quick, it's easy. I can either open the can up, drain the juice, and just go ahead and throw them in my meal preps, because when I microwave my meals later on, it's gonna cook them again. So you don't have to, but if you're gonna eat that meal, part of that meal today, go ahead and put a little bit in a bowl, in a microwave if you have it, for a minute. If not, you can do a pot. All you do, just open the can, dump it in the pot, and then cook it until it boils. Last thing, the oven temperature and times. Again, your chicken and sweet potatoes are at 425 degrees Fahrenheit. Chicken cooks for 26 minutes. 2 additional minutes are added until, if you need it, until you don't see any kind of pink in the breast. Sweet potatoes are for 30 to 45 minutes, depending on, but every 10 minutes, toss your sweet potatoes. Green beans, boil them in a pot, or put them in the microwave for a minute. All right, guys, once I'm done putting this in the oven and getting this cooked, I'll take a picture and I'll send this to Doc, and then y'all have everything. All right, MVP.